Hey guys, so per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. So today I want to talk about the cup and handle, or as it's named here, the cup with handle. I've been seeing a lot of cup and handle charts lately. Just wanted to get some better information about the cup and handle out there for the chart pattern aficionados. So it was developed in 1988 by O'Neill. Blah blah blah. We all know what it looks like, okay? We all know it's exactly how it sounds, cup and handle. So let's delve a little deeper into that. The trend, it should be a continuation of a prior trend, meaning a prior trend should exist. Okay, keep that in mind as I'm running through my examples. It also says it should be a few months old and not too mature. Now, you can see any chart pattern on any time frame, but the lower the time frame, the lower the probability that it will occur. So you may see head and shoulders on a 15-minute, which I have an example of, but that doesn't mean it has the same probability of a head and shoulders on the daily or the weekly. The head and shoulders on the daily or the weekly has a much higher chance of actually being substantial and probable, profitable, however you want to say that. This also says the more mature the trend, the less chance that the pattern is a continuation to the upside. Keep that in mind when I'm talking about the examples as well. These patterns get old and they can just get tired and they just don't play out, you know. I don't know a better way to say that, but we'll look at that on the other charts I have. So the cup, that's self-explanatory. It should be a U. It shouldn't be a V. All the ones I'm showing are U's. Softer U indicates that there's valid support. It just confirms the bottom more so than a V, let's say. And there's an example that I have that's basically a flat line U. And that's about as good as you're going to get. Cup depth. So this is important when you're looking at the continuation of the trend. So it's saying it should retrace about 1/3 or less, but it's also saying it can go to 2/3. So this is another thing to keep in mind when you're talking about continuation of a prior trend. So the prior trend should exist, and the cup shouldn't retrace really more than 1/3. But up to 2/3. That's kind of a loose rule, but basically it shouldn't retrace back to where the trend started from. Handle on the right side, self-explanatory. It doesn't mention it here. I guess it says 1/3 of the cup's advance. I've always learned it was 50% of the cup. So I don't know how valid this is, but it says usually not more than 1/3. We'll take a look at that. Some of the examples it is 1/3, some of the examples it's more than 1/3. I don't know, it's different. It's hard to distinguish definitively some of these rules, and I think this is definitely one of them. The smaller the retracement, the more bullish the formation, and significant the breakout. That I can definitely agree with. The smaller the pullback on the post cup, the more bullish it is. That's kind of self-explanatory, I think. Again, we're talking about duration and maturity. It can extend for 1 to 6 months, longer on weekly charts, 1 week to many weeks. I saw one website mentioning 65 weeks is kind of like the maximum. I don't know how much that really matters, other than the probability goes down the older it is. It just dies. Okay. Volume is big. With any chart pattern, volume is always part of the chart pattern. I have to drill this into my own head as well most of the time. So even on here, when we're looking at the cup, you don't necessarily see consolidation in volume. By that I'm meaning like a decrease like you would in the inverted head and shoulders or inverted head and shoulders. We do have a consolidation in volume here, but it doesn't always have to be like that. But then they're saying as the breakout's happening, as we break this local top, you get a bump in volume. This isn't a great example. The examples I have don't even have, definitive volume spikes per se, but you can see there's a local spike in volume compared to here. So all you want is basically some volume following through with this break, okay? You can see if you wait till the maximum volume, you might be in too late. But even still, that'd be fine as far as entry. But I really think as long as you have some volume on the break of the horizontal, you're fine as far as your entry goes. Because remember, every trade is recognizing your system or the pattern, your entry and your stop, and the execution, your actual like pressing buttons on your interface or MT4 or whatever. I think a good example of a stop for these would be below the handle. Like if you long above the horizontal, your stop would be below the handle. It could even be any iteration, above the handle itself. I just think the handle's good. Sometimes you'll see the cup handle, and then it'll do like a fake out where it'll break the horizontal and won't keep going, and it'll like retest the horizontal to confirm support. So we get like do, and then it'll go. So your stop shouldn't really be at break even, because otherwise you might get stopped out when it's a perfectly valid pattern. So volume, stops, what else we got here? The target, this is another big one not many people talk about when they talk about chart patterns. Usually the target of any chart pattern is always the distance from like the neckline to the bottom, or the top to the neckline. So in this case, or in any case, the distance from the bottom of the cup to the horizontal resistance is the target. So this is about, what is this, 15 to 28, 13. So $13, I don't know what this is, denomination, but you get the point, and I'll point that out on my examples here. So again, classic pattern, cup and handle, cup, you have a rounded bottom. This one's a little V-ish, maybe too V-ish for me, but you have a rounded bottom, you have the handle. Now you'll notice the handle just kind of chills for a while. You get some buying. If you're bold and seeing this, you might even, your entry might even be down here. I wouldn't recommend that. But depending on the volume, they didn't have volume profile on this. Depending on the volume, your entry can be any of these candles, depending on other stuff as well. Individual candles themselves. But your definitive entry is always the completion of the pattern, not before the completion. So if you look at, again, the range and the target range, something hardly anybody ever talks about, your target is always going to be distance from the bottom of the cup to the horizontal. Okay, and you can see that played out here to some degree. I don't actually know if this kept going. So now I want to talk about the red-headed stepchild, Ethereum, because Ethereum had one of the best cup and handles I've seen trading, because it was so flat. This is on the daily Kraken. This was, let me just pull this up here one sec. So this was June 5th, 2016. I was calling a cup and handle. You also have, on the handle, you have not a tweezer bottom, but you have a double wicks into the Kijun, which says the equilibrium was tested and supported. You have this chilling of the handle, which some people can get like freaked out, like, oh, the pattern hasn't completed yet, or the pattern's not completing, I'm going to sell, or I'm not going to enter this trade yet because it hasn't completed, which is probably the correct statement. The other part of this is it's a continuation of a prior trend, okay? There's clear, like 1, 2, 3 steps up, pull back, cup, handle, and what do we get? I don't know why I didn't leave the volume on here, but what do we get? We get a real pattern. It actually played out. Whether or not it went to where it was going to go, I'd have to remeasure this, but it didn't quite go as high as I would have liked it to go. I think one of the reasons was the Dow hack was somewhere in here. I don't know the exact date. So this was June 18th, I think. But you get the point. Cup handle, your target's here, your prior trend is here, your handle doesn't break 50% of the cup, your cup doesn't break 50% of the prior trend. In this case, a third of the prior trend. So that's good. This is what you should see every time. This is how you know it's a highly probable trade entry. When you get a break of the horizontal, you can even see you get a tweezer top on the daily here. Super fake out as far as, are we or aren't we? Will she or won't she? The point is your entry is here. Your target, again, I'm pointing this out as well. This was a fib extension up here. So I didn't think it was going to go any higher than this. So yeah, you can see cup handle, perfect, daily, go for all cylinders, okay? So I'm going to jump around a little bit. So this was pre-first Bitfinex downtime. This is the hourly OKCoin CNY. What I'm drawing out here was an Adam and Eve double bottom, followed by what I thought was a cup and handle. It's kind of a loose cup and handle. I think it's there. This actually, didn't go north. It definitely went hard south. I think it broke. There's evidence that this broke down before the Bitfinex downtime, but whether or not those were connected is definitely a possibility. Now looking back at everything in as a whole. But the point is, these don't always work out. This was in the hourly, so it was a lower time frame. This was, at the top of a trend, so it would be considered continuation. But it was also in a bigger triangle. So you kind of have to be careful as to when and when not to use the pattern as gospel. So now let's walk through some future possible and past examples of cup and handles. I really like this. This is Toru. He has his own YouTube channel. I'll link him up. But what he did was he projected a cup and handle forming using this fractal. So what he did was he took this fractal, put it over here, drew a cup and handle, and saying, this is going to make some insane 150,000 CNY. Who knows? But the point is, you can get wonky looking cup and handles like this. It would make sense that the previous all-time high is tested as support. You can see we kind of got that here. This wick being an all-time high. That was then tested as support, tested and confirmed as support. So this is the one I've been seeing a lot of lately. Real quick, back to this one. Again, you can see the continuation. Think of all the things I just talked about. The pearls or the hallmarks of the cup and handle, okay? You're getting a continuation of a trend. It's pretty old, this one. This is the weekly, so it's definitely more than 65 weeks. I'd have to measure it out. That's my one gripe with these big weekly cup and handles. Whether or not they work out because they're old or not, I don't know. But it's something to keep in mind as far as using them as entry signals alone. The other thing about this, again, it doesn't go below 1/3 down of the way down from the prior trend. The handle doesn't go below like 50%, like I said. So you want previous trend, cup not going below 1/3 of the trend, handle not going below 50% of the cup, and then your entry would be the horizontal of the cup. In this case, kind of like the horizontal of the handle, with your stop being below the handle. So those are the rules in a nutshell. So back to this one real quick. So this one, I don't know, because we're not getting continuation. If you take into like all the old data and saying this is a continuation, it feels looser to me and it kind of breaks down. I know I've drawn cups and handles here, and I'll show you what that it looks like. But this looks good. I don't know if it necessarily follows all the rules of a cup and handle. I think we can continually draw cups and handles just the way this actually played out, because we had this long period of stagnation, consolidation, sideways. So you can see it's a good U. It's a good flat bottom. But you know, we keep going up these levels. We're going to have people drawing cup and handles the entire way up. You know, we're probably going to get some resistance at the 618. We might draw the same type of fractal where there's a pullback. So there'll be people drawing another cup and handle. You know, until we break all-time high, we're going to keep drawing cup and handles, I think. So it's something to keep in mind. And again, this is the same cup and handle, drawn a little differently. So yeah, same rules apply. Is it continuation of a trend? I don't know. Is it too old? Probably. The handle is valid. The cup itself is valid. So entries would be above the previous local high, the current local high, with your stop being some, you know, however your max pain can be, considering how big this handle is. It doesn't break the 50%, which is good. It doesn't break the 618, at least on how it's drawn here. Yeah, so let's go through some previous cup and handles that I've drawn, just to show you that some of these do and don't work out. So I actually painstakingly went back and checked all of these. This one worked out. I don't have volume on a lot of these, which is kind of a bummer, but 15-minute, whether or not this is a cup and handle, I don't know. I call it a cup and handle. You can see it was a continuation of a prior trend. The cup went down less than a third, the handle went down less than 50% of the cup. The entry was the horizontal, probably even up here, I don't know. See, when this stuff happens, it's kind of crazy, because you're getting this extra like goalpost thing. But this did break up the next day, or within the time frame that you could consider this as a successful pattern. Going to this one, this was July 3rd, 2015. This one worked out amazingly well. If you go back and check that one out, I think we hit 350 on the completion of this. So you can see the interesting part of this one was there was a bear div, which played out, and then what I'm drawing here is a bull div, where you're getting a higher low in price and a lower low in RSI. And this is a bear div because you're getting a higher high, but you're getting a lower low in RSI. So it's saying that even though it went higher, the strength is much less as far as buying the strength index is concerned. So I really like this, and you can see it's kind of wonky. It's not exactly horizontal, it's a bit diagonal, it's a bit sideways. So they don't always have to look completely perfect. We go to this one on November 13th. This was on the hourly Bitfinex. And again, you can see we have Adam and Eve and what I'd call a cup and handle. This one did not work out at all. And it was on all the exchanges. So far my Adam and Eve cup and handle calls are 0 for 2. This is another one that worked out amazingly well. You can see this is the one I was talking about, where we have basically a completely flat bottom. This was after we hit that crazy 500 run, and we just had days and days of consolidation. So this is on the daily. This one returned to 500 eventually. That's the other thing. The time course for the target is tough. Sometimes you just have to be patient. I don't really have a general rule for any of that, but yeah, so this is a couple days later, 12/12. You can see here's the cup and handle here, and your entry would have been a break of the horizontal. Not rocket science. You just have to be patient. I don't have volume on here again, bummer. But you can see this played out, let's see, the 12th. So it hit a few days later. It also hit previous local highs, so that's another way to like confirm with confluence that there's a target here, there's resistance here, I should drop my long here, I shouldn't smoke the hopium and expect this to keep going. This was the cup and handle I was hoping for. This didn't play out. This is actually the beginning of the 200-day ascending triangle formation. And then lastly, again, these are the current cup and handles predictions. So this was the cup and handle prediction pre-breakout. This one worked out pretty well. We had a touch of the 50%. The handle took 200 days to pan out, but it panned out. It panned out sideways. It did not pan out in a V pattern. You can see we just had several U's almost. There's another possible cup and handle here. So you can see we're drawing these cup and handle, cup and handle, cup and handle, and eventually we hit on the big cup and handle. So now the question is whether or not this is real. I don't know. I don't really buy it, but I like to think it's there and that it's going to happen. If it does happen, that doesn't mean it's because it's the cup and handle, if that makes any sense. But you can certainly retrospectively say, oh, there was a cup and handle there. It worked out because of that reason. This handle, I think, is going to be more of a pointed triangle. I don't think it's going to be an ascending triangle, just based on the Bitfinex hack shenanigans. You can see we didn't break below 50% of the cup, so that's good. That is evidence for continuation over reversal. So that's all I have on cup and handles. So as usual, guys, like, dislike, share. Any comments, let me know. Question of the day is, how hard is it for you to remain patient while you're waiting for chart patterns to play out? Do you usually jump the gun? I know I do. I get burned for that. So take my advice, take other people's advice, let the patterns play out. Even if they don't, even if you jump the gun and you get rewarded, you're kind of getting rewarded for bad behavior. So as usual, happy trading.